Hello everybody, Helio Alves here. I'll be talking in this lesson about Bossa Nova. Bossa Nova is a rhythm created in Rio de Janeiro in the late 50s. It's pretty much a style that's comes off of the samba. Is I would say like a younger cousin of the samba rhythm, or is in the samba family. Samba being the first, of course, and Bossa Nova coming after. It's pretty much the same, usually the same elements of samba, but a little bit more synthesized, a little bit more simpler in a way. The patterns are with a lot less movement that you would play a samba, a straight samba groove. The extremely important composer is, of course, Antonio Carlos Jobim, and as far as the singer and guitar player that really kind of created him and with others at the time, but mostly with a lot of the rhythms based on the style of the guitar player João Gilberto. His playing and his singing. He synthesized the pattern of the samba into a simpler way of playing, but very complex at the same time. So everything is a little bit more legato, a little bit more with a fuller sound, and but with less movement. And I want to show a couple of patterns that, again, those are patterns that they're based on patterns from the three elements that we talk about: the tambourine, the surdo, and the pandero, which being the 16-note syncopation. And what João Gilberto did, he took all of those complicated patterns of samba and created a couple of patterns that work extremely well. That's one that I use a lot on this on the wave that I just played. Is this one? It's a one-bar. It's actually a one-bar pattern, and it's this one. It's 1, 2, 1, 2. So notice I'm always playing the downbeat on that one. There's another important thing in Bossa Nova, the quarter notes always being present, being like the surdo, which is obviously not accented as much in Bossa Nova, but it's always present. So both quarter notes are super present there in the groove. A variation on that one would be like anticipating the next bar. So it's basically the same pattern. It would be a one bar pattern, but repeated, in which you anticipate the end of it. So it's very similar, but it goes like this. So. One, two. So either pattern, you can basically play a whole song just pretty much using those two, with slight variations, of course. Like I mentioned, you don't play. You play everything a little bit more legato, a little closer to the keyboard. So if I play, I'm going to show on Corcovado, another Jobim song that very famous, of course. So I can pretty much use just one pattern the whole song. I was using a few different variations there. Pretty much, depending on the music situation. Again, it's not a set pattern that you'll be using. You can, depending on what's going on at the moment, you can anticipate the measure in the next one, but the next measure coming, or just play downbeats. But the important thing to remember is that Bossa Nova is a samba. So I'm still thinking, even though I'm not accenting, I'm thinking of the second beat of the measure or the second half of the measure being stronger than the first. But I'm still playing. The downbeat is pretty much very much present. So even though I'm not playing, I'm kind of thinking about it a lot. So and every once in a while, depending on the music situation, I mean, depending on what's going on, what type of band, what type of soloing or something's happening, you can also put the 16-note accents that we talked about in the samba rhythm, but of course will be more rare on the bossa nova. But it happens too. So be something like this. So. Like I mentioned, it's very important to play the quarter notes and always present there. And the bass, as far as the bass, when I'm playing the piano, I'm thinking of the accented second beat, second half of the measure, but I'm not accenting as much. So if you play even the same note on the bass, is okay. You don't do like the samba that you would play. A fourth down, that would create too much movement in terms of rhythm and groove. So if you just keep playing, a lot of times I'm imitating the guitar. Actually, the guitar is a central, of course. To learn how to play correctly, you have to listen to a lot of guitar players, especially João Gilberto, and pretty much if you repeat the note, the bass can be a constant, play the same note every time, and you still create the same effect. So. If I do the bass down a fourth, it would create sort of off the style a little bit. It still would work, but so. Octaves might work also, but it's pretty much what I like to tell even bass players is to play kind of like a walking bass almost, in which you're not accenting the second beat of the measure, but you're thinking about it pretty much. That's the simplest way actually for piano players and for bass players. If you just play simple quarter notes, it works perfectly and for bossa nova. So those are two very big ones, patterns that I showed you guys. Something else that works also sometimes, and it works pretty much for drums, is a pattern is borrowed from the clave, from the Afro-Cuban clave, but works sometimes on the guitar and the piano also, and it sounds like this. It's like 1, 2, 1, 2. maybe not for the whole song, but for a certain specific part of the song that might create a different kind of vibe. That would be nice. That works really well. Another one is one that I mentioned already is actually borrowed from the samba. This samba and bossa nova, you can, they constantly borrowing from each other, and is this one that I mentioned on the song Brigas Nunca Mais, another song by the famous Antonio Carlos Jobim, another Jobim, and it's this one. And the song that I mentioned is this. So that's another pattern that will work sometimes. Especially if you combine with other rhythms. Different ways of practicing this type of rhythm, like, you can find different variations. Of course, the more you listen to it, the more ways of practicing you're going to come up with. Well, what I'm playing right now is pretty much playing the pattern on my right hand and the bass on my left hand. So one way I like to play, especially this song, is to put the entire groove on my left hand, and that frees up my right hand. So I think about like a shell voicing, like of the root 7 and the third, and I'm thinking the bass constant quarter notes, and the groove sort of be right here on the 6th and the third, and sometimes with my left hand also will help. So it'll be something like this, like. I switch there to bass on my left hand and pattern on my right hand. But that's a great practice, actually, specifically in Corcovado, just playing just your left hand, not even using your right hand. And always thinking about the quarter notes that are always there. And actually, in all bossa nova, as long as you have that, you get the right drive and groove. So 1, 2, 1. In that case, I was using my right hand to do this sort of guide tones in the middle. So that's another way. You're thinking root and 6 or 7, and third maybe on your right hand, and sort of as a voice leading guide tone sort of way of playing. So there'll be something like this: 1, 2, 1. well too, the in-between lines in there. So again, I'm thinking root 7, maybe here the third, or in the approach and going from chord to chord. You can divide in between the two hands too, of course, again, always with the quarter notes there. And I'm doing root 7 and then shell voicings, root 7, 3rd, and 5th on my right hand. So that's different ways of practicing that. And don't forget, there's also the element that I'm constantly thinking about that comes from the samba also. Bossa Nova is a samba, it's part of the samba family, of the 16 notes. So that's always also in the back of my head, in my mind, sorry, the back of my mind. So that you can throw that in there too, if the situation comes. So one more example would be, that's for a specific type of playing, depending more a jazz type of approach. But the pure bossa nova wouldn't have that much movement. It would be, like I mentioned, it would be way more static and legato. And so that's different ways of practicing. And I'll be back with some other styles. And thank you for listening. Happy practicing. Thank you.